Hello, RIT parent and family members, and welcome to the Health and Wellness episode of 2020 Family Orientation. So in all of these videos, I'll be interviewing colleagues from across different areas of campus using a mix of my own questions and the questions that you submitted to me. These videos are meant to introduce you to campus resources and life at RIT, as well as to give you some familiar faces. We know that you have a lot of questions about COVID, and we will be addressing those throughout the summer in these videos as well as in other communications. One thing though that you can do right now to help us prepare for the fall is to start having conversations with your student about practices and etiquettes that we know will keep RIT safe, like washing your hands, wearing a mask, practicing social distancing, and staying in when you're not feeling well. It will be all of our responsibilities at RIT to take care of our campus and one another. We did some recent focus groups with RIT students and found that 95% of them were prepared and planning to take action to keep us safe. And you as parents can help us bring that to 100% by talking to them about following protocols and being responsible for themselves and others. So with that being said, I would like to jump into our health and wellness topic and welcome one of our case managers at RIT, Samantha Jeffries. So before we get into the questions I have, Samantha, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at RIT?
Absolutely. So my name's Samantha Jeffries. I am one of 3 case managers that we have on campus at RIT. And we'll talk a little bit more about what specifically case managers do and how we're there to service students. But we work within wellness, and we're responsible primarily for just helping students navigate those resources.
Great, and we're happy to have you here today to help us understand some of those resources. So let's start there. We know that there's several different health and resources on campus, but I want to talk about the 2 big ones, the Student Health Center and Counseling and Psychological Services. So can we start by talking a little bit about those offices and what services they provide?
Absolutely. So you're right. The Student Health Center and CAPS, or Counseling and Psychological Services, are the 2 primary health and wellness related offices we have on campus. Both are located in the August Center, which is the tall building across from the gym. So the Health Center is on the 1st floor and Counseling and Psychological Services is on the 2nd floor. The Student Health Center offers what we would essentially call basic primary care services for our students. So anything within the community, kind of as you relate it, would be just that basic primary care. They also offer urgent care appointments for our students as needed as well. Counseling and Psychological Services, or as we call them on campus, CAPS, they offer short-term solution-focused treatment for our students, as well as group therapy. Walk-in crisis appointments are another option that they offer. And yeah.
So I'm happy that you mentioned the acronyms because, you know, everybody knows in higher education, we love our acronyms. So CAPS is Counseling and Psychological Services. And especially in writing, I know I always refer to the Student Health Center as the SHC. So as we continue to have these conversations, that is what we mean by those acronyms.
Absolutely, yes.
So that was a really great summary of what we do offer. But I'm wondering, are there common services that these offices don't offer that parents should know about now?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, the Student Health Center offers basic primary care. So in relating that to what you know about your community resources in the world outside of RIT, anything that really falls outside of those basic primary care needs generally falls outside the scope of practice of the Student Health Center. One thing that really comes up a lot, to give you a good example, is allergy shots. So our students need to be referred to a specialist off campus for allergy shots. That's not offered at the Student Health Center. Really anything that you could think of a specialist would be needed for. So cardiology, neurology, really those specialties. The Student Health Center will work with the student as well as case management as needed to make sure that the student is connected to those services in the community as best as we can. The Counseling Center, as I mentioned, they offer short-term solution-focused treatment. So specialized intensive long-term care is another thing that would be referred off campus. And the CAPS counselors would refer students over to case management, and we'll work with the student to understand what your insurance covers and how we can best get you connected to someone in the community that might better meet your needs.
So that's great. You actually just answered my next question, which is, what does a student do if we don't offer the services they provide? Mm-hmm. So I know that you as case managers are a great resource to help students find outside services. Can you talk a little bit more about how you guys as case managers support students?
Absolutely. So we really market ourselves as project managers for complex personal problems. So that falls under this idea of I need something, I don't really know what it is, and I don't know where to go for it. We are more than happy to help our students figure out what that is and to create a plan moving forward for them to better address those needs. A lot of kind of the basic things that we work with, insurance concerns. So a lot of students come to campus and they've never used insurance before. They don't know how it works. They don't know what's covered, what's not. And so we really help them navigate that insurance piece of things. Connecting to off-campus resources, as I mentioned before. So that involves looking through their insurance or talking through, sometimes the basic things. This is how you make a call to set up an appointment. And we're more than happy to sit with students and help them make those phone calls. Additionally, any on-campus resources. So if there's a resource on campus, chances are we know about it. And if we don't, we will figure it out and we will help that student find the best place for them. Really help them create a plan to help them succeed at RIT.
This is the second video that I've been recording so far, and this has already come up in both. That one of the great things about RIT is if you don't know where to go for help, you just start with who you know, or start, I heard about case management, so I'm going to start there. And we all know each other and we know how to refer to each other as needed. So the biggest thing is we don't want students to ever be afraid to reach out for help. So case management is a great place for students to start with anything health or wellness related that they're not too sure where to go.
And additionally, I will say too, we offer these services to parents. A lot of times we get parent phone calls, my son and daughter are struggling. I don't know really what to do or how to help them or where to send them. We're more than happy to talk through the campus resources for you as well.
That's great. Thanks, Sam. So one of the biggest questions I get this summer from parents of incoming students is, what about medications or prescriptions? Now, you already mentioned allergy shots, which is something I've already heard from parents this year. But can you talk a little bit about how students can get their prescriptions at RIT?
So a lot of insurances we know of will cover prescriptions being sent to the student. So if your student is currently getting prescriptions at home and the pharmacy is able to send that to students and your provider at home is happy to continue prescribing, that's certainly a great option. Students can get their prescriptions sent to their campus mailbox, and that works pretty well. If a student needs to get a prescription locally, RIT is certainly situated between several pharmacies, and so students can take their prescription there. They can have the provider send that prescription to that pharmacy. And if they have a way to get off campus, they can get to and from there. RIT also has a partnership with Wegmans, which is our local grocery store. And what they do is their pharmacy will actually deliver prescriptions to the RIT Student Health Center, and students can pick up their prescription on campus. So what that entails is a student completing the forms, which are located on the Student Health Center website. And then whatever prescriber they're working with would need to send that prescription to a specific Wegmans, and that's highlighted on the form, and note that it's for RIT delivery. And from there, the Wegmans pharmacy will just deliver it to RIT's campus, and the student can pick it up at the health center. And they'll be notified by the health center that their prescription's here on campus.
Great. It's nice that there's so many options and they're not too scary. It's just getting used to a different way to get your medications.
Absolutely.
So I would say the second biggest question I get from parents of incoming students this time of year is about insurance. Do students need a student health insurance plan? Can they be on their family plan? Can you talk a little bit about insurance for RIT students?
So insurance is a big one, and one that comes to our office very regularly. The short answer is students do not have to purchase the RIT student health insurance plan. It's not mandatory. That's not something that they have to have. However, I'm always encouraging students and parents to look through your insurance prior to sending your student here to campus. So a lot of times I hear from parents and students, but I have great insurance and it works at my, at home. Just because it works where you live does not mean that there are providers who are paneled with your insurance company in Rochester. And more often than not, a student comes to campus saying, I'm set, I've got the providers at home that I need that I'll continue to work with. I don't think I'll need anything in the community here. And a lot of times the student winds up realizing I need to see a cardiologist, I need to see a neurologist, I need specific testing, or something came up, an accident came up, and I need a physical therapist. And they wind up actually needing to have a provider in the community that their insurance doesn't cover. Most insurances cover basic emergency services. So your student is generally, provided they have coverage, covered in the event of an emergency outside of their state. However, it's very important that you look through your insurance and make sure that just general basic providers are available in the Rochester area.
Yes, I'm so happy you emphasized that, because that is very important. And in an upcoming newsletter that will be going out to parents too, to please be sure you check your provider. But we do have options, and that will be shared with parents in a newsletter as well. So you know where to find that link to the student plan and can make your decision. So what does happen when a student gets sick? And specifically, does a parent get contacted when a student is sick?
So when students get sick, as I'm sure you know, some students just want to hunker down and work through it on their own. Others want to go to the health center and make sure that they're adequately taken care of. Really depends on the student and how they tap into those resources. Specifically in terms of whether or not a parent finds out, all student health information is protected information. So just as a parent's health information is protected at their doctor, students' information is protected here. If your student comes in and they're sick, parents are not notified of those things unless the student elects to tell them. Additionally, if a student is transported and taken to the hospital, that still falls under protected information. So parents are not necessarily notified of that unless the hospital is working with the student to notify a parent. Obviously, there are certain exceptions to that. If your student is physically unable and it is an emergency and they cannot contact you, and it is deemed that it is a very big emergency and you need to know, someone will notify you. However, those instances are incredibly rare. Otherwise, it's on your student to let you know that they're not feeling well and if they need anything, and we hope that they do.
Yeah, so this is a really good time to plug asking your student to go into their information and make sure they fill out that emergency contact. So that is in what we call Student Information Systems, or SIS, and students can access it by going to rit.edu/student contact. And that is where, if there ever is an emergency, we pull information from that. So please encourage your student to go in there, update your family information, and also that emergency contact. So if, forbid there is an emergency, we can actually get in contact with you. So let's shift a little bit. We've talked a lot about health and the resources, but let's talk about general wellness. And how can students stay healthy and active while they're at RIT?
So, RIT is a very big campus, and there are certainly numerous ways in which students can stay healthy and active and engage in that physical activity. First and foremost, all students are required to take at least 2 wellness courses while they're at RIT. Obviously, we have a lot of students who really enjoy that aspect and wind up taking more as electives, and that's absolutely encouraged and okay. But they are required to take at least 2. And those can range from yoga classes to, I think there was a bowling class at one point in time. It really, there's a whole gamut of things that students can connect with and engage with in those wellness courses. We do have the Student Life Center, which is essentially our gym. And their students have access to a multitude of different things, tracks and basketball courts and a swimming pool. There's really just a wide variety of things that they can do there. As I mentioned, RIT is a very big campus, and when the weather's great, we really strongly encourage our students to get out, enjoy the weather, walk around campus, just take in some of those things. We do have some kind of nature trails located on campus that it's really helpful for students to just get out there and get connected to. And additionally, we have what we call the Red Barn, which is our rock climbing barn, and students have access to that as well. I do believe there's a fee associated with use of the Red Barn, and all that information is on the Student Life Center website as well.
There's, as Sam says, there's so many ways to get involved. There's intramurals if your student really likes to play sports but doesn't really want to commit to a club team. There's a lot of ways to get involved. And, I look at our resources and I'm super jealous of our students. The gym is so nice. It's a really nice facilities. There's lots of courts and different ways for students to take out equipment for free and use it. And those wellness courses are so cool. I think there's such a wide range. You will be shocked. I think, isn't beekeeping might be one.
Yeah, I think that was one. I mean, and you mentioned intramural sports. They've got a wide variety of. There was some esports thing that came up for intramurals too. So if your student's not necessarily super into that physicality but wants to get connected, there's so many options and so many things that they can connect with.
Right. And it's really nice having that indoor space because we all know in Rochester we have a long and cold winter. So there's always a way for them to be active even in the winter. So we can't really ignore the fact that we live in a COVID world right now and that some things are going to be different. So can you talk a little bit about how all of the services we just talked about might be different this fall and maybe even into the spring because of COVID?
So, certainly as you mentioned in the beginning, Chelsea, a lot of these things are still being worked through. So we have committees and departments are all sitting down and talking about how can we make this the safest and healthiest transition for our students, our staff, our faculty. And so services will adjust and change as information comes to us from the state, as things are approved and as we kind of monitor how RIT is impacted by everything. First and foremost, these services will be available to students. So the health center, the counseling center, case management, the gym, intramurals, wellness courses, all of those things are going to be available to our students. It just might look a little different. I think kind of as we've seen within the state of the world, telehealth is a big thing. And we've really shifted towards that, which we've actually found to be very beneficial to our students. We're able to reach more students who don't necessarily have the ability to come in quickly, or who just might struggle with really kind of making it to the office. So telehealth services through the health center and the counseling center are primarily how we will be reaching our students this year. Certainly emergency face-to-face appointments are available kind of as needed, but we're really encouraging students to connect virtually as best we can in this time, just to maintain the health and safety of everyone. Obviously, knowing that that may change in the future, we just kind of have to wait it out and see. In terms of the gym and wellness courses and intramurals, I do know that there will be certainly accessibility to those things. However, we will have to limit attendance and those things based on the activity. Certainly if it's an outdoor activity, we can open that up a little bit more. But for those indoor activities, we really kind of have to monitor our capacity and how many students we're bringing into those things. So I would strongly encourage everyone to keep up to date on the coronavirus website, as well as the websites of all individual departments. The access to them is still there. It just might change how readily available those things are and how the face-to-face portion is there.
Right. During all of this time, I think a lot of people are looking for reasons to be positive or good things that are coming about this period of life that we're living in. And I'm actually really excited about this telehealth for both the the student health center and counseling, because I think it removes that stigma for a lot of students and barriers of actually making it in. And so that's one of those really positive things that I think will come out of this time in our lives that I know I'm excited about.
Absolutely. And I will say too, for case management, we're offering those telehealth sessions as well. So it really, like you said, it helps us reach more students and it makes it so much more available for everyone. And I'm excited to see how that plays out as well.
Me too. So thank you, Sam, for joining us. I think this has been so educational, and I hope our parents have learned some things as well. Now, I've been ending all of these interviews with the same question. So thinking either inside your area of expertise or outside, because you are an expert on colleges and universities just by working on one, what would your number one piece of advice be to parents of students starting college in the fall?
Oh, gosh. I will say, and I know we talked about this as a case manager, first and foremost, please check with your health insurance company. That is the biggest piece of advice. Probably the most important thing I can really emphasize is make sure that your students are covered in case of those emergencies. I think outside of that, enjoy this time period. It's incredibly hard and it's scary and it's, for everybody. But we're excited to have your students and we're excited to bring them onto campus and just enjoy this time period with them, enjoy the transition with them and making the most of this time.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. So thank you to Sam for joining, and thank you for all the parents for watching as well. And we'll see you on the next episode.